In a large, beautiful house in a quiet, wealthy neighborhood lived a man named Mr. Jameson. He was a successful businessman who had worked very hard to build a big company. His days were busy, full of meetings, phone calls, and decisions that could change the future of his business. Even though he had a lot of money and power, his most important treasure was his daughter, Emma. She was a bright little girl with curious eyes and a gentle smile. But Emma was different from other children. She had autism, a condition that made it hard for her to speak, understand others, and sometimes even connect with the world around her. From the moment Emma was born, Mr. Jameson and his wife had hoped for a happy and healthy child. But as Emma grew, it became clear that she faced challenges. She did not speak like other children her age, and she often avoided eye contact. Sometimes she would get upset without a clear reason, and it was hard for her parents to know what she needed or wanted. Doctors explained autism to Mr. Jameson and his wife, but the words didn't make the situation easier. They knew that helping Emma would take patience, love, and a lot of work. Despite their wealth, the family felt helpless. They hired special teachers, therapists, and doctors, hoping to find ways to help Emma learn and communicate. But progress was slow, and the family's busy schedule made it hard for them to spend as much time with Emma as they wished. The house was filled with expensive things, but the most important part, Emma's happiness, was still missing. Mr. Jameson often felt worried. He wanted to do everything possible for his daughter, but sometimes he did not know where to start. In this large house, there was also a woman named Maria. She was the family's maid, working quietly and carefully behind the scenes. Maria was not wealthy or famous like Mr. Jameson, but she had a kind heart and a special way of understanding people. She had worked with many families before, and she knew how to care for children with special needs. Maria loved Emma deeply. She saw past the silence and the struggles and believed that Emma could learn and grow in her own way. Maria spent a lot of time with Emma, even when no one was watching. She noticed small things that others missed, the way Emma's eyes followed, a bird outside the window, the soft hum she made when she was happy, or how she responded to music. Maria believed that communication was more than just words. It was feelings, sounds, and connections. One afternoon, Mr. Jameson was working late in his home office. The house was quiet except for the soft sound of Maria's voice. Curious, he paused and listened. To his surprise, Maria was speaking to Emma in a language he did not recognize. Her words were gentle and calm, full of warmth and patience. Emma looked at Maria with shining eyes, repeating sounds and smiling softly. Mr. Jameson was shocked. He never knew Maria spoke other languages, let alone that she was teaching 9 different ones to his daughter. Over the next few days, Mr. Jameson watched quietly. He saw how Maria taught Emma not just words, but songs, gestures, and stories from different cultures. Maria's lessons were filled with laughter and music. Emma, who had seemed lost in her silence, began to respond. She made sounds, moved her hands, and even tried to say new words. It was as if a new world was opening for her. At first, Mr. Jameson felt unsure. How could a maid, someone outside his family and business world, teach his daughter so much? He had always believed that only professionals with special training could help Emma, but what he saw with his own eyes was different. Maria's love and patience were powerful. She was not teaching from books or lessons, but from her heart. Maria never asked for praise or money. She only wanted Emma to be happy and to learn. Slowly, Mr. Jameson's respect for her grew. He began to understand that love and care were the greatest teachers of all. The walls between them, the differences in wealth, status, and background, started to fade. Emma's progress brought new hope to the house. The worried faces of her parents began to change into smiles. Mr. Jameson started to spend more time with his daughter, joining in on Maria's lessons and watching Emma's excitement grow. The mansion, once filled with silence and tension, became alive with joy and possibility. For the first time in a long time, Mr. Jameson felt that Emma's future might be bright. He realized that sometimes help comes from the most unexpected places. And that day, A new chapter began for their family, a chapter full of learning, love, and the power of believing in someone who never gives up. After the surprising moment when Mr. Jameson heard Maria speaking to Emma in a language he didn't understand, his curiosity grew stronger. He wanted to know more about this kind woman who had quietly taken such an important role in his daughter's life. Maria wasn't just the family maid anymore. She was becoming someone who brought light into a home that had been filled with worry for so long. One morning, Mr. Jameson decided to spend more time around the house, watching from a distance, as Maria and Emma interacted. He saw Maria sit down on the floor, her voice soft and patient as she gently guided Emma's small hands to touch colorful flashcards. Each card had a word written in a different language: French, Spanish, Japanese, Arabic, Hindi, Chinese, Russian, Italian, and German. Maria would say the word clearly and slowly, then wait for Emma to try to repeat it. At first, Emma made small sounds, sometimes unsure, but Maria never lost her calm. She smiled and clapped gently every time Emma tried, no matter how small the progress. Mr. Jameson noticed that Maria used more than just words. She sang simple songs in these languages, making funny faces and hand movements to help Emma remember. Sometimes she would point to pictures of animals or objects, connecting the words with things Emma loved. The room was filled with warmth, laughter, and a feeling of hope that had not been there before. It amazed Mr. Jameson that Maria was teaching Emma 9 different languages. He had never imagined that someone outside of school or special therapy could do something so incredible. But it wasn't just about languages. It was about the way Maria saw Emma, not as a child who couldn't speak, but as a child who could learn in her own way. Mr. Jameson began to understand that Maria's teaching was not only about words but also about trust and friendship. Emma responded to Maria's kindness. She would reach out to touch Maria's hand or look directly at her face with clear attention. For the first time, Emma's world seemed less confusing and more connected. One afternoon, Mr. Jameson finally spoke to Maria about what he had been seeing. "Maria," he said gently, "I never knew you could speak so many languages. And more than that, I never knew you had such patience and care for Emma. How did you learn all of this?" Maria smiled humbly. "Mr. Jameson, I did not study in big schools, but I grew up in a home where many languages were spoken. My mother taught me to love learning. When I came here and saw Emma, I wanted to help her in any way I could. Languages helped us connect." Maria explained how she believed every child, no matter their challenges, could learn if given the right kind of love and attention. She said that Emma's autism meant she needed a different way of learning, one that was gentle, fun, and filled with encouragement. Mr. Jameson felt a wave of respect and gratitude. He realized that Maria's love and hard work were making a real difference. For so long he had felt lost and helpless. Now he saw that the answers were not only in doctors' offices or expensive therapies, but also in simple moments of care and connection. Over the next weeks, Mr. Jameson made a decision. He wanted to support Maria and Emma in every way possible. He asked Maria if she would help create a daily learning routine for Emma. Together they made a schedule that included time for music, games, and language lessons, along with quiet moments for Emma to rest. Maria welcomed the idea warmly. She told Mr. Jameson that the key was patience and listening to Emma's needs. Sometimes Emma needed breaks. Other times, she was excited to try something new. The routine was flexible, always guided by Emma's feelings. As the days passed, Emma's progress became clearer. She began to say small words in different languages, sometimes mixing them up, but always trying. One morning, Maria proudly told Mr. Jameson that Emma had said Mama and Papa clearly for the first time. Tears came to Mr. Jameson's eyes. It was a small moment, but for him, it was a giant step. The house that had once felt quiet and tense now echoed with the sounds of Emma's voice and laughter. Maria and Emma's bond grew stronger each day. Maria shared stories from her childhood and taught Emma songs from around the world. Emma responded with smiles and sometimes clapped her hands to the rhythm. Neighbors and friends began to notice the change. They saw a happier Emma and a family that was coming together in a new way. Mr. Jameson sometimes shared the story of Maria's unique teaching, hoping to inspire others to believe in different ways of helping children. But the story was not just about Emma and Maria. It was also about Mr. Jameson himself. Watching Maria's patience and Emma's progress made him reflect on his own life. He realized that success in business was important, but nothing compared to the joy of seeing his daughter grow and connect with the world. He started to spend more time at home, leaving his phone and work behind. He joined Maria in the lessons, sometimes learning the new languages and singing the songs. Emma's laughter became his favorite sound. One evening, as the sun set over the large house, Mr. Jameson sat beside Emma and Maria. He thanked Maria from the bottom of his heart. "You have taught us all so much," he said, "not just about languages, but about love, patience, and hope." Maria smiled softly. "Thank you, Mr. Jameson. Emma is a special child. She teaches me, too, how to be patient, how to love without limits." That night, as Emma fell asleep, Mr. Jameson felt a deep peace. The journey was not over, but he knew they were on the right path. Maria's quiet strength and Emma's courage had changed their lives forever. And so, in the heart of a wealthy home, an unlikely friendship blossomed. A friendship that taught a little girl to find her voice, and a father to open his heart in ways he never thought possible. As days turned into weeks, the changes in Emma grew more and more noticeable. Mr. Jameson, who had once been unsure about Maria's role, now saw clearly how important she was, not only to Emma but to the entire family. Maria's gentle and creative way of teaching was breaking down barriers that no one else had been able to cross. It was not just about learning languages. It was about opening a new world for Emma, a world full of possibilities. Mr. Jameson had always believed that education and care came from professionals, people with certificates, degrees, and titles. But Maria was different. She was not a teacher in the traditional sense, nor was she a trained therapist. She was simply a woman with a big heart, deep patience, and a special way of connecting with Emma. This made Mr. Jameson think about his own ideas and beliefs. Could it be that true care and learning come from love and dedication rather than just formal education? One afternoon, Mr. Jameson decided to talk openly with Maria. "Maria," he said, "I have been thinking a lot. You have done something amazing with Emma. How do you manage to teach her so well? What is your secret?" Maria smiled softly and replied, "Mr. Jameson, there is no secret. I listen to Emma. I watch her closely and try to understand what she needs. I know she learns in her own way. Sometimes it's with sounds, sometimes with pictures, sometimes just with touch. I try to be patient and kind because that is what she needs most." Hearing this made Mr. Jameson realize that he had been missing something important. In his busy life, he had often focused on results, success, and speed. But with Emma, the slow and steady approach was the only way forward. It was a lesson not just for Emma but for himself. Maria's example also made Mr. Jameson think about the walls he had built between himself and the people who worked in his house. Before, he had seen Maria only as a maid, someone who cleaned and helped with chores. But now he saw her as a teacher, a friend, and a guardian for his daughter. He began to respect her not for her job, but for who she was as a person. One day, Mr. Jameson invited Maria to sit with him in the study. He wanted to find ways to support her better, and to help Emma even more. Together they talked about new ideas. Maria suggested bringing in some language learning games and books that could help Emma in a fun way. She also wanted more time during the day to spend with Emma, to keep their lessons steady and joyful. Mr. Jameson agreed without hesitation. He realized that investing in Emma's happiness and education was the most important thing he could do. He also started to include Maria more in family decisions, making sure she felt valued and respected. The change in the household was clear. The servants and staff noticed how Mr. Jameson treated Maria differently. It was no longer just a job for her. It was a mission filled with love and hope. Emma's mother, who had been worried about her daughter's future, also began to trust Maria's methods. She saw the light in Emma's eyes and the happiness in her smile. With this support, Maria grew even more confident. She found new ways to help Emma communicate, like using simple signs and gestures alongside the languages. She created songs and rhymes that combined words from the different languages, making learning feel like a game rather than a lesson. Emma loved these moments. She would laugh and clap when she got a word right or made a new sound. Her eyes shone with excitement, and her parents saw a side of her they had never known before. It was like watching a flower slowly open to the sun. Mr. Jameson began to share Emma's progress with close friends and family. Some were surprised to hear about the maid teaching 9 languages, but most were inspired by the story. It reminded them that kindness and patience could change lives in unexpected ways. The family also started to look beyond their own home. Mr. Jameson, moved by what he saw, decided to use his influence and resources to help other children with autism. He met with doctors, teachers, and community leaders to learn more about how to support families like his own. He wanted Maria's story to inspire others and show that sometimes the best help comes from the heart, not just from schools or hospitals. At the same time, Mr. Jameson noticed how Emma's confidence was growing. She was not only learning words, but also showing more interest in the world around her. She reached out to her parents more often, making small sounds to get their attention, or smiling when they spoke to her. The once quiet and shy girl was becoming more open and curious. One evening, as Mr. Jameson watched Maria and Emma playing together in the garden, he felt a deep gratitude. He thought about how far they had all come. Emma's journey was not easy, but it was filled with love, hope, and endless patience. Maria's quiet strength had given them all a new way forward. Mr. Jameson realized that life was not just about money or success. It was about the people you love and the bonds you build. He promised himself that he would always support Emma and Maria, no matter what challenges lay ahead. Maria's role in the family had changed forever. She was no longer just a maid, but a teacher, a friend, and a symbol of hope. She had shown everyone that true care comes from understanding and patience, and that every child, no matter their difficulties, deserved a chance to shine. As the sun set on the mansion that evening, the house was filled with a quiet happiness. The walls had witnessed many moments of struggle, but now they echoed with laughter, learning, and love. Emma's story was still unfolding, but one thing was clear. With people like Maria by her side, she would never walk alone. The morning sun rose gently over the Jameson household, casting a golden light through the windows. The once silent and heavy home was now filled with a calm energy. Emma's journey had brought light into every corner of the mansion. Her laughter echoed softly, her gentle voice repeated new words in different languages, and her smile was becoming a daily gift to everyone around her. Maria, as always, was by her side. She had become more than a guide. She was like a second mother. Emma's trust in her was deep. Every morning, Emma would look for Maria first, tugging gently at her hand to begin their routine. Whether they were practicing colors in French or counting in Hindi, each moment was filled with patience, music, and love. Mr. Jameson had changed too. He no longer buried himself in work all day. His heart and mind were now focused on his daughter's growth. In fact, he began joining Maria and Emma more often during lessons. He was amazed at how quickly Emma was learning, not just words, but how to understand emotions, respond to questions, and even sing along to some simple songs. These were things he had once feared she would never do. Every small step Emma took now felt like a celebration. When she learned to say hello in Japanese, Maria clapped joyfully and Mr. Jameson beamed with pride. When she said Papa with a smile, his eyes filled with tears. These were quiet victories, but for them, they were priceless moments. One day, Maria introduced a new activity. She created a colorful map of the world and placed little flags on the countries whose languages Emma was learning. Emma's eyes widened with excitement as Maria spoke about different cultures, foods, and traditions. Although Emma could not yet express everything with words, her reactions showed interest. She would point to the flags, mimic the sounds, and sometimes hum the tunes from the songs Maria taught her. Emma's mother, who had been cautious at first, now joined in too. She began to understand that progress didn't always look like what the doctors said. It could be slow, soft, and filled with small wins. She started spending more time with Emma, following Maria's lead and learning how to respond to her daughter with warmth and calm. It was like their hearts were finally speaking the same language. Mr. Jameson was deeply moved by everything happening around him. He thought about how little he had truly known about Maria when she was first hired. She had come to them quietly, asking only for work. She never boasted about her skills or demanded attention. And yet, she had become the reason for the biggest change in their lives. He remembered a day when he had asked Maria what made her believe in Emma when so many others had given up. She had smiled and said, "Every child has a light. Sometimes it just needs time and love to shine." These words stayed in his heart. One evening, while sitting in the garden, Mr. Jameson had an idea. "Maria," he said thoughtfully, "I want to do more. I want others to hear Emma's story. There are so many parents out there who feel lost like we once did. Maybe our story could give them hope." Maria listened quietly. She had always been humble and never wanted attention, but she also knew that if sharing this journey could help others, it was worth it. Soon after, Mr. Jameson began writing about their experience. With Maria's permission, he shared the story of how a maid with a kind heart helped a little girl speak for the first time, using 9 different languages. The story touched many people. Parents, teachers, and even doctors reached out, saying they had never thought about teaching children with autism through multiple languages or with such gentle methods. More families wanted to know how Maria did it. Mr. Jameson saw an opportunity to help. He invited a few local parents to visit his home and meet Maria. At first she was nervous, but when she saw the curious eyes and kind faces of children like Emma, she opened her heart again. Maria began showing simple activities, like matching words with pictures, using songs to teach vocabulary, and gently guiding children with hand movements. The families were amazed. They saw their children smile, respond, and engage in ways they hadn't before. Slowly, what started as a small effort became something much bigger. Mr. Jameson supported Maria in setting up a small learning center in the neighborhood, a warm and welcoming place where children with autism could learn through music, languages, and gentle care. They called it Emma's Light. At the center, every child was treated with love, not pressure. There were no loud lessons or strict routines. Instead, there were songs, colors, stories, and lots of encouragement. Maria trained other helpers to work with the children, teaching them what she had learned over the years, not from books, but from her heart. Emma continued to grow. She now spoke simple phrases in many languages, could answer basic questions, and most importantly, showed joy when learning. Her world was no longer silent. She had found her voice. Mr. Jameson watched her one afternoon as she sat under a tree at the center, repeating the names of animals in Spanish with another child. She smiled, held up a card, and said, "El gato," with confidence. The other child giggled. They were learning together. For Mr. Jameson, it was a moment he would never forget. That night, he sat with Maria in the garden again. The stars twinkled above, and the air was calm. "You've changed our lives, Maria," he said. "And now, you're changing so many others." Maria shook her head gently. "It's Emma who changed us all," she said. "She just needed someone to believe in her." The days passed quietly but beautifully in the Jameson household and at Emma's Light Center. The little girl who once struggled to speak was now surrounded by friends, laughter, and hope. Her journey was not only about learning languages, but about discovering herself step by step, with the love and support of those who believed in her. Mr. Jameson often thought about how much their lives had changed since the day he first heard Maria speaking to Emma in a language he did not understand. It was a moment that had opened his eyes and heart. What followed was a story of patience, trust, and the power of kindness. One afternoon, as the sun warmed the garden, Emma was playing with a group of children from the center. They sang songs in different languages, clapped their hands, and smiled freely. Maria watched nearby, her eyes shining with quiet joy. She had never imagined that her small acts of care could grow into something so meaningful. Mr. Jameson approached and sat beside Maria. "You have done something truly wonderful," he said softly. "Emma is blossoming because of you." Maria smiled, but she looked towards Emma with the deepest love. "It is Emma who has taught me," she said. "She has shown me that every child can shine no matter the challenges. We just need to be patient and believe." As the weeks passed, Emma's progress continued. She learned to say "thank you" and "please" in many languages. More importantly, she started to express her feelings through words and gestures. When she was happy, she laughed and clapped. When she was tired or upset, she learned to tell someone. For her parents, this was a new and beautiful connection. One evening, the family gathered around the dinner table, a place that had once been quiet and tense. Now it was filled with warmth, conversation, and hope. Emma babbled softly, trying to say words she had learned. Her parents encouraged her, and Maria helped with gentle smiles and quiet guidance. Mr. Jameson looked around the table and felt a deep sense of gratitude. He knew their journey was not finished, but the hardest part had passed. Together they had found a way to help Emma grow into the wonderful child she was meant to be. The story of Emma and Maria also inspired many people in their community. Parents with children facing similar challenges reached out, asking for advice and help. Mr. Jameson and Maria welcomed them with open arms. The center grew, and more helpers joined the team, all learning from Maria's gentle and loving methods. One special day, a group of children from the center performed a small show. They sang songs in the languages Emma had learned and shared, stories about their own journeys. Emma was shy at first, but when she saw her parents smiling and clapping, she found courage. She repeated a few words clearly, and the audience cheered with joy. For Mr. Jameson, that moment was priceless. He saw not just his daughter, but all the children growing stronger and more confident. It was a victory of hope, love, and the power of believing in every child's potential. Reflecting on their experience, Mr. Jameson realized how much he had changed. Success in business and wealth were important, but the greatest success was the happiness and well-being of his family. Emma's story had taught him to be patient, kind, and open-hearted. Maria's role in their lives was a reminder that sometimes the greatest gifts come from the most unexpected places. She had started as a maid but became a teacher, a friend, and a light for their family and many others. One quiet night, as Emma slept peacefully, Mr. Jameson sat beside Maria and said, "Thank you for everything. You have changed our lives in ways I cannot put into words." Maria looked at him with a gentle smile. "Thank you for trusting me. Emma is a miracle, and we all have a part in her story." The story of the millionaire dad, the maid who spoke 9 languages, and the autistic little girl became a message of hope for many. It showed that with love, patience, and faith, even the most difficult challenges could be overcome. Emma's journey was still unfolding, but one thing was certain: she was no longer alone. Surrounded by love and support, she would continue to grow, learn, and shine. And in the hearts of all who knew her, the story of Emma and Maria would live on as a beautiful reminder that every child deserves a chance to find their voice and their light.